Peace is not found in silence alone, but in the courage to live your life without interference from those who seek to control it. There comes a time in life when you begin to ask yourself a simple question. Am I living for myself or am I living for others? For many, especially those who grow up surrounded by relatives, family expectations, and cultural traditions, this question is not easy to answer. The voices of parents, uncles, aunts, cousins, and distant relatives echo louder than the voice of your own heart. They tell you what to study, whom to marry, how to live, and even how to think. While their intentions may often be dressed as love or care, the reality is that constant interference steals away your freedom, your joy, and most importantly, your peace. To discover the art of peace and create happiness without relatives controlling your life, you must first realize this: your life belongs to you. This truth may sound simple, but living it requires courage. Courage to set boundaries. Courage to disappoint people who expect you to obey. Courage to let go of traditions that no longer serve your soul. And courage to redefine what happiness truly means for you. Let's imagine this through a simple picture. A bird in a cage may be fed daily, safe from storms, and cared for by its owner. But is it free? No. The bird's wings are clipped by comfort and control. Its song is not sung for itself, but for the amusement of others. In the same way, when your life is dominated by the opinions and interference of relatives, you may appear safe or comfortable, but deep within, your spirit longs for the sky. The art of peace begins when you dare to open that cage. Peace is not rebellion. It is not a war against your family or a hatred for your relatives. True peace is balance. It is the art of creating space for your own choices while still carrying respect for others. This is why building happiness without relatives controlling your life is not about cutting everyone off, but about learning to live with clarity, mindfulness, and self-respect. Start small. Peace grows in small steps, not giant leaps. Begin by noticing where interference begins to weigh on you. Perhaps it is in career choices, relatives telling you what kind of job has dignity. Perhaps it is in relationships, relatives questioning your choices, telling you who is good enough. Or perhaps it is in lifestyle decisions, where to live, how to spend your time, how to raise children, or even how you should think about money. When you identify the places where interference disrupts your peace, you can begin to respond differently. Instead of defending yourself with anger or silence, practice stillness. In stillness, you gain clarity. You learn to say, I understand your opinion, but I choose differently. These simple words carry great power because they are rooted in respect yet anchored in independence. Fulfillment begins when you realize that relatives may have influence, but they do not have authority. Their words may enter your ears, but your choices belong to your own hands. For American readers, this lesson often comes during the transition to adulthood, when independence is valued. Yet even in the USA, relatives can interfere through pressure, guilt, or comparison. For international readers, especially in cultures where family bonds are stronger, interference can feel unavoidable. But no matter where you live, peace is possible if you are willing to shift your mindset. Peace is not about controlling the noise of others. It is about controlling your response to that noise. When relatives criticize, you can remain calm. When they question, you can respond with confidence. When they pressure, you can stand firm in your decisions. This is the practice of inner martial arts, not with fists or force, but with presence and self-mastery. Shihengi often reminds us, the external world is a reflection of the inner world. If your mind is restless, then interference from relatives will feel like fire burning your freedom. But if your mind is calm, relatives lose the power to disturb your happiness. They may still talk, still interfere, still judge, but your inner world remains unshaken, like a mountain that does not bow to the wind. Another step in the art of peace is setting boundaries without guilt. Guilt is the weapon relatives often use to control. They say, "After all we've done for you, how can you say no?" But remember, this saying no to control is not a betrayal. It is an act of self-love. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors. A wall shuts people out completely. A door allows connection, but only when you open it willingly. Boundaries create relationships that are healthier, lighter, and based on choice instead of control. When you set boundaries with kindness, you create space for both love and freedom to exist side by side. For beginners, start with these simple practices. Spend more time alone in reflection. The more you know yourself, the less relatives can define you. Develop a strong routine of mindfulness, whether through meditation, journaling, or exercise. A calm mind responds better to interference. Use simple phrases like, "Thank you, but I prefer this way," or "I appreciate your care, but I've chosen my own path." Celebrate small victories of independence. Every choice you make for yourself builds confidence for bigger choices. Peace is also found in shifting the definition of happiness. If happiness is tied to relatives' approval, you will forever chase it and never catch it. If happiness is tied to external achievements, you will always depend on others to validate you. But if happiness is tied to inner alignment, living according to your own values, then happiness becomes unshakable. Let us reflect with a story. Imagine two men. One lives in a grand house with family around him, but every decision he makes is dictated by their voices. He smiles at family gatherings but feels empty in private. Another lives simply, perhaps even modestly, but he walks freely, chooses his path, and listens to his own voice. Who is truly at peace? Who is truly happy? The answer is clear. You do not need to hate relatives to find peace. You only need to stop surrendering your life to their control. The art of peace is not instant. It is a practice every day. You must remind yourself that your life is your responsibility. Every day, you must practice saying no to control and yes to inner freedom. Every day, you must choose fulfillment over fear, clarity over confusion, and independence over interference. When you practice this long enough, relatives lose their power to control you. They may still talk, but their words no longer chain you. You may still see them, but their presence no longer dictates your choices. And in this space, happiness blossoms. Peace is not the absence of relatives. It is the presence of your true self. So ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to live? A life shaped by voices of others, or a life shaped by your own spirit? The art of peace teaches us this. You cannot stop relatives from speaking, but you can stop them from steering your life. You cannot silence their opinions, but you can silence the power of those opinions within your mind. And when you achieve this, you will realize that happiness is not found outside. It has always been within. Final call to action. If you are ready to discover the art of peace and create happiness without relatives controlling your life, begin today. Start small, practice daily, and remind yourself often your life is yours to live. Share this wisdom with someone who feels trapped by interference, and let us together build a world where peace is chosen, happiness is created, and freedom is lived fully.